And now, coming to you from the Pensado Media Center, powered by Westlake Pro.
Hello. Hey, everybody, what's going on? Thank you for being patient. I'm trying to swallow an Altoid at the same time as talk to you, which is inconvenient timing. We're back at our winter home. Dave and I come here. This is our fifth year. Somebody just got an Altoid instead of Pro Tools 12. You may have got ripped off, so just letting you know. We got an illustrious guest today. You're going to enjoy that. This guy is super talented. We'll bring him out in a second. You're at the place.
Pensado's place.
Oh, that shit's sexy. Thank you very much. Also, a big thanks to our sponsors, Avid. Yeah. They make this happen every year. They make the show come to you for free. They are literally, there's another one of our partners in the back, George and Joe from Westlake Pro. We like them as well. We love them. You should see the new Pensado Media Center. By the way, we're going to give some stuff out. These are backstage
George,
passes to the Media Center.
We can squeeze you in up here.
Thank you for interrupting me. We're doing a show.
Huh?
Yeah, cool. We're going to give away some Pro Tools 12s. I think there's some Mix magazines. We were lucky enough to be on the cover of Mix magazine because of you. We'll sign some of those things. But we really want to thank you for your support. So again, Avid, an incredible company, have been supportive of us for 5 years. Let's get to the guests. Let's get to the good stuff. You'll get a chance to ask some questions. We'll have some handheld mics. And I think we get it going. I just met our guest for the first time about 10 minutes ago. And I told him, I've almost been thrown. Thanks, Karen Dunn. The lady that came up and gave us a hug is Karen Dunn. Karen Dunn puts on the Pensado Awards. She's put on the Tech Awards for 31 years. She is a dear. We don't do any live events without her. So thank you for the applause, even though you didn't know
one of our favorites.
Who the hell she was. She is
bad girl.
She is key in audio. Trust me when I tell you. So I told Mike Shinoda, I said, Mike, I have been on airplanes where people have said this black dude is just headbanging for like 5 hours across the country. And it's because I'm listening to Linkin Park records over and over. Like I like to do it over and over. And he was so surprised. He said, oh man, cool, thank you. So one of the things that Dave and I like about this guy, besides what has happened with Linkin Park, which is incredible, but he's also a graphic designer and a record label owner. He has stuff in the Japanese Museum of Modern Art.
Japanese American Museum in LA.
This is a guy, what I think you're going to learn when you meet this guy is how you can improve who you are in audio by being artistic. So do me a favor, put your hands together for a ridiculously talented guy, all the way here from Linkin Park, the one, the only, Mike Shinoda.
Michael.
Welcome him. There he is.
Mike. Hi. Did I come in the wrong door?
No, man. Your entrance can be anywhere.
Come down this way.
Pop around.
Hey, guys. What's up?
We're all good. I have a fan. I have nothing. I don't know what to do with. So
You're
I'll move
a fan.
Mike, thanks for coming, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, buddy.
It is absolutely true that between being on the plane or in the car when I'm headbanging the music that you're involved with.
Thank you.
What I always liked about Linkin Park is you guys were not afraid to be fully Linkin Park. Right? You had your own sort of way of approaching rock and making a hybrid of your interest and the way you saw the marketplace and so on and so forth. And you just were sort of balls out and went for it. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, actually, it was funny. A few minutes ago, a fan walked up to me, a guy who was saying that he's been in the band since the beginning and has followed us. And he asked me, I think it was probably because this is, I have to assume Meteora, our second album, was one of his records that he likes a lot, because he said, you know, what's your favorite song in your catalog, or what's your favorite song on Meteora? And I said, actually, that album, what was interesting about that is that I would probably say Breaking the Habit. There's a song called Breaking the Habit on that second record where it was the first time we basically showed that we were interested in doing something other than what people knew us for.
Yeah.
And everything since then has been in that vein. That every time we make a record, every time we make a song, we knew that at that moment, if we kept making stuff that sounded the same way, we'd be kind of locked into doing the same thing. And so we stepped outside of that, and it's opened up all the doors of opportunity for whatever the band wants to do, from album to album or song to song. Some albums are patchwork of all different types of songs, and other ones are just a little more glued together in one sound, but you never know what kind of album you're going to get from us.
What's great about it, in my opinion.
Mike, can I get serious for a second?
Please.
The song Kenji,
Oh yeah.
it really resonated with
Are
me.
you asking about this because of my hat?
No, I'm asking because my mom and dad are from Spain and I grew up in Ybor City. And
I'm not sure what the
just
relevance
30
is.
seconds, let's be a little serious.
No, that's all right.
The foundation for that song was trying to know where you fit in at a young age. You didn't know how to quite be Japanese, be American, or what. And you touched my heart when you described the first time you went to Japan and got off the plane, because that's the way I felt every time I left Ybor City. And that song kind of embodies a lot of important moments in my life. Are you comfortable discussing the way that came about? I think it's a beautiful story.
Thank you. It's a
weird
weird
thing.
thing.
Our audience would benefit by it too.
So it's a weird thing to get into such deep conversations that I do about the song Kenji, knowing that it's like basically a rap, like it's just a rap song. You know what I mean? And at the time when I wrote it. It was around the same time that I was just talking about. So on our first two albums, Linkin Park with Hybrid Theory and the Meteora, those were kind of like brother albums. Like they both kind of had a similar sound. Mm-hmm. At the very end of that, we did the Collision Chorus album with Jay-Z. And then I just naturally started feeling like when I was playing around, like I'm in the studio, whether my home studio or whatever, I'm kind of doing that every day, and I would just play around with these like hip hop demos, basically just kind of getting back to my own personal roots that didn't sound like Linkin Park, because at the time we weren't 100% sure that we could make stuff that didn't sound like Linkin Park. We didn't know if the fans would accept it. We didn't know if our band was comfortable doing it. We didn't know what would happen, and so I started making all these rap demos, and I made enough that people started saying, well, why don't you just put it out? Like you might as well. People should hear it. You can't just like, it'd be selfish to hold on to the stuff, is what one of my friends said. And I was like, okay, that's fine,
that's
whatever.
An important song.
That's really nice. But the kind of cornerstone in retrospect, one of the cornerstones of the album is a song called Kenji, which is, I'm half Japanese, half Caucasian and mixed European background. And, I always felt like, being mixed and living in LA, that's defining. For me, that's who I am. And I didn't ever feel like I was white. I didn't feel like I was Japanese. And so I wanted to dig into some of the things that I remembered, stories I remembered as a kid. And one of them in particular was Japanese internment here in California. After the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the U.S. government approved the collection or relocation, they called it, of the Japanese in living on the West Coast, because they were scared of terrorism, they were scared of spies, and they didn't know if they could trust the Japanese. Well, if you can imagine today, if something happens, which stuff does happen.
In a weird way, it kind of is happening
right.
to the Muslims.
So I think it's really relevant. That's why we talk about it, that song, and why I'm happy to talk about it. But if you can imagine even today, something happens, you see it on the news, and all of a sudden the next step is the government saying, you know what, we just don't know what to think. We just can't totally trust you guys, so we're just going to blindly round you all up and stick you in, for example, Santa Anita racetrack horse stables for a few days, and then send you to a makeshift camp in the desert in Arizona for 2 years. Crazy, right? You can't imagine that happening right now, but it happened, and that's part of American history that a lot of people don't talk about, and that's what that song is about. Sorry to be so long-winded. I'll try and speed it up.
I think it's a beautiful story. Stop me, Mike, because I want this to be your interview, but when you described your first trip to Japan and you saw someone handed a business card and they received it with two hands, that touched my heart, buddy. Can you tell that story?
Well, that's just the way that things are done. Bowing, instead of shaking hands, holding business cards with two hands, giving a gift. If you know somebody and you're visiting them, you always bring them a gift. Somebody told me recently, I actually hadn't heard this one, but they said that they were always taught that you never return a dish empty. So if somebody brings you a dish, like if they bring you food on a dish that they own, then you eat it, then you have to give it back with something on it. Back to them, which is just so nice. Like, and things like that, like that's part of our culture, and that's like specifically I remember when I got off the plane in Tokyo for the first time, it smelled like my aunt's house. Like it smelled like my family.
Yeah,
and
right.
I got off the plane, I thought, this is the weirdest thing. Like I never would have imagined that being the thing that registered with me, and it smelled familiar.
Chongor's girlfriend.
Man, thanks for doing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Okay, is the interview over? No.
No,
Okay. We'll go back. We'll go back. Chongor's girlfriend is Japanese, so when he came back from Japan, part of the way that you show respect is that when you're eating noodles and stuff, you slurp.
Yes.
Right? And so we were in American restaurants, and Chong was like, it's like, what the? I was like, Chong, you're not in Japan anymore. Anyways,
Plus an environmental group followed him around because he was killing half the fish population on Earth.
You do not want to eat fish.
No, let's
with
go
Chong.
light. Let's
That's
go
not-
light. So
you're making a record now, right?
Yes.
And you're in the middle of, are you in the writing and tracking phase of it, or where are you guys?
So, historically, the band has like basically gone from, in the earliest days, we'd be really track focused. I used to write much more like a hip hop producer than a band or a rock, artist. It would always be track first.
Okay.
And the first time we worked with Rick Rubin back in, 2005, 6, we did a few records with Rick, and he's a really good fit for us. Like he's very big picture. He's not in there every day in the details. Some people don't like. Some people don't like that. Yeah.
Right.
But we're very self-sufficient, and we also, what we wanted from him is the guidance. And one of the things that we learned that it took a long time for us to internalize is he always tried to get us to focus on the song more than the engineering, more than the mix, more than the sounds and the atmosphere and all of that, which we knew we were doing to some degree and we knew we wanted to do. But it's just that I love creating atmospheres. I love creating unique sounds. And so whenever I'm writing something, those kind of just work their way in because I love doing it.
It's your natural process, yeah.
But he was saying at the time, he's like, well, what if you did just focus on like piano? I played 10-ish years of classical piano, so my background's piano. That's my main instrument. And so he's like, what if you did just write, piano and vocals, and really forced yourself to just keep it at that until the song was done, and then worked on the track. And we very, very rarely got there with it during when we worked with Rick. But I always say, where we're at right now is a product of those conversations. You don't learn this stuff overnight. Like, the things that Rick knows and thing Rick teaches, it takes a long time to absorb it. You're never going to if you knew it like that, you'd be an absolute genius. Nobody does that. So so we're in the process right now where we're working on a new record, and everything is totally 100% focused on the songwriting, crafting, it's the right melodies, the right words, the right arrangement, or rather structure, not arrangement. The order of parts, what's the tempo, what's the key. These seem like the simplest, stupidest things.
But they're important.
But if you don't get them right, it can change everything.
Absolutely.
And then I'm really looking forward to, we've got about 2 months in on this process. We got a ton of material that we just love, and every day we go in, we write a new thing every 2 days.
Okay.
Like I'd say about every 2 days we work on something new. Sometimes it's just us. We've actually been working with a couple of other writers as well, just to see what they have to offer. We've never done that before. We've always written everything ourselves, so that's a brand new thing too.
Does the selection process inside the band of the final material, is that a democratic process? Is it tussle? Does the label get involved?
That's a great question. Yeah, because for every artist, it can be really different.
Yeah.
Based on who you are, what your talents are, what you know,
how much you sold.
who do you deal with, what genre is it, whatever. I do want to finish one thought that I had before though. We are a couple months in on this songwriting thing, and it's really melody, lyric focused. But there will be a point when we really start diving into track. And that's the thing I'm really also looking forward to, because I feel like we've got the foundations that are going to work. And when we know the foundations of the song are great, then we move into track mode. And then it's just like, that's my playground. It's like one of my favorite things.
Absolutely.
So then I just get to do that every day.
Yeah.
I'm in the studio probably. Our lead engineer, Ethan.
Where is
just
he?
Showed up. Hi, Ethan.
Ethan, what's happening, man?
So you guys, if we get super nerdy, I may go to Ethan for some clarity on like.
We have a
details.
handheld around someplace. Ethan, we'll get you a mic if you need to ask a question.
If you start asking me make and model of certain outboard effects, I'm going to be like, what did we use? I don't even remember.
I got a question for Ethan.
He needs a mic, so before you ask him.
No, he doesn't.
Keep going.
Maybe I
Hey, man, I wrote it down. Is Scheherazade X still his favorite Pokemon character?
There you go. Good job.
It's very complicated.
There you go.
Very complex
Yeah, we don't
thing we're
get
talking
We have a
about.
crack research team. Absolutely. Well, they're on crack, but that's listening.
Early in your career, the band, you guys weren't known for jamming songs together. A lot of bands, their process is they just jam, and that turns into a song.
Yes.
Sounds like on this new record, you're going to do a little bit of that, a little more possibly.
A little more, yeah. Jamming, I've always, when I really write something, if you can call a one-man or two-person jam, like if you can call it one person, the way you come up with a song, like there's something intuitive and non-mathematical about that. Like you got to feel it, and you're talking about like I'll come in and whether it's today or on previous records, like I'll come in and be thinking about it sounds a little trite, but you're thinking about your life. Like you're thinking about what's happening in that week or that day or what you just saw, what you just read. Like there was this thing on the news or perfect easy example. Brad and I, our guitarist and I, we're basically in the studio every day, roughly 10 hours, like Monday to Friday, about 8 to 12 hours. So just call it 10. And he walked in a few weeks ago and he said, I was like, what do you want to write about today? And he said, he paused for a minute and he thought about it. He's like, my friend just called me and they're trying to have a kid and they're just going through the worst time right now. They've like gotten pregnant and then lost it and gotten pregnant and lost it and then couldn't get pregnant. It's like they're having the worst time. And we're, we have families, we have kids and stuff, and so like that really resonates with us. And a lot of guys in the band and other people we know gone through that. So I was like, we got to write about that, and that was the topic for that day. And to me, it just takes something like that. Like sometimes it's something as simple as I just talked to somebody and this conversation meant something to me. I related to something somebody said.
Yep, that makes it real.
Yeah.
It makes it real and makes it topical, even when you don't.
When you're on the road, do you still use iMachine? Is that something from the past, or?
I use a lot of. I do use iMachine. I'd say I use a lot of different, virtual synths and different plugins and gear or whatever. My primary writing tool is probably Machine. Other than piano and just singing into my phone. Like I probably use audio memos even more than that.
Right, exactly.
Sitting in my car, I literally got the Apple Watch, and the most important thing on that is not the watch or the messages or the whatever. It's this little Just Record app where when I'm driving, I can just flip it and press the button and start recording, as opposed to fumbling for my phone and whatever, because I will have tons of ideas in the car. It's one place where I get the most ideas.
Everything about Pensado's place, Pensado Awards, everything we do is me talking into a voice record, playing it back later, and then extrapolating it. When you tour a lot as a touring entity, when you do tour, is writing on the road something that is good to do, stimulative, different? Do you not like to do it? Some folks like doing it, some don't.
There's two parts to that. First of all, like in a kind of a drier way, like if I stop writing, it's almost like it's like stopping
breathing.
Physicality, like stop moving, and then your muscles get sore and it's harder to start up again. So there's that.
That's true.
But if I really step back and look at it, and if I'm not doing something creative, I go stir crazy. I really get like unbearable. I'm totally unbearable if I'm not. Part of it is because I grew up playing piano. I grew up drawing and painting. I went to school, as you mentioned, at Art Center in Pasadena for illustration and graphic design.
Amazing.
I've been making music since, like, I think I got my first like cassette 4-track and sampler and all that when I was maybe 15, and it was like weirdo stuff off the back of those. What were those magazines they used to have at Guitar Center? Was that Musician's Friend or was it something else?
I think it might have been Musician's Friend.
I would like just look at the used gear and get stuff around town, and I got these like I got an Akai S900. I got like a Tascam 4-track. I got like an Alesis. Was it HR16? Was the little drum machine? I use that as my sequencer, and I make these little beats and keyboards and stuff.
That one was so shitty. You probably the only one that had one.
It was bad, but it worked as it was a good sequencer. Like I could plug it into the Akai, and I'd sample stuff. And it was, by the way, you guys, it was 12-bit, and it was floppy disk.
Oh, Jesus.
Okay, but I've been basically building out my like. People ask a lot of times, like when I'm working with other artists or producers or whatever. Or I'm just hanging out with people backstage. A lot of time we'll talk gear and stuff, and they ask about sounds. And I really believe in making your own sounds, and I've been collecting and making my own sounds since then. Like I still use sounds that I made when I was 16, you know, from that like 12-bit sampler.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, just the artistic side I think is fascinating because I think art informs art. Like, it doesn't matter what part of art you're in. If you go into another part, you can draw from that well. Do you agree? Like, as a graphic designer and an illustrator and so on and so forth, has that informed some of your writing of songs or your production of songs or tracks? Is it an art space you live in?
Yeah, totally. You asked if it's a democratic process in the band. It is. It is. And we actually call it a meritocracy. So it's not just that you decide on something, it's that it's the best thing. And everybody has to leave their ego at the door in order to really be honest about what's the best thing. Because effectively, most of the time, if you got 6 guys, most of the time you're voting against yourself.
Yes.
Like you came with an idea and you go, that one's better.
Yeah.
That's the way our band works. And we want, back to the democratic process, we strive for a unanimous vote, which is hard with 6 guys. You got one person on any song, any part, one person saying like, I just don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's what we'd like to do. In our ideal world, we're going to get to that person and say, okay, I'm going to sit with you. We're going to figure this out. What do you not like about it? And that happens. It can be really like slow the process down and be a chore.
Sure.
But in the long term, if you've got a group, and I don't care if you're a brand new group, I don't care who it is, like, you gotta be able to look at each other in the eye at the end of the day and say like, hey, you did right by me, thank you. Because we all have to stand up there and stand behind the songs at the end of the day. If I got one guy in the band who's like, I don't like this song. Right. I don't like that part.
I'm not going to play it like I should.
It's like they're going to be up there just kind of like,
what the fuck? Yeah,
that's not how we do things at all.
For all you guys listening who care about, or maybe in groups or in bands and so on and so forth, the mechanics of a family and how it manages itself and how you process through decisions, how you handle differences and so on and so forth, is as much about how you'll survive as having hit records or not hit records. And people sometimes don't know that going in. And if you don't pay attention to that, it can implode just based on not paying attention to the process.
But that also brings up something that's really like timely right now. I mean, maybe not like this year, but you see a trend in music right now, in the past 5 years, say, of smaller groups.
Absolutely.
Right? Mm-hmm. So not just talking, on the extreme end, you've got DJs. You got EDM, and you got DJs who are a one-man group making every decision for themselves. And that goes from their artistry or their entertainment or whatever to how they present it to people, all the way to the videos and the marketing and whatever.
Yep.
But then you look at like where rock music's at, or where alternative music's at, or whatever, or groups. Smaller groups these days, 2 people.
Yep.
Lots of 2 people groups, 3 people. And why? Because it's easier to get along with 2 people or 3 people than it is 4, 5, 6, right?
Yep.
I always challenge, though, sometimes, number one, with a few more people in the group. Like it's easier to get together with a smaller number of people, but with 4 people, if the magic's really there, then the potential greatness is larger.
Exponentially multiplied.
The information and opinions that come to the table, the challenges of like, well, can we do better though? Like you guys all agree, but I think we can do better. That's going to be there. You're going to have more hurdles internally to keep the quality control up,
Yep.
more ideas and stuff too.
Yep, absolutely.
Your solo project, it sounded like you were describing Fort Minor a second ago. One person, one DJ. I was looking at a German concert that you did in Germany, obviously.
This
Yeah,
year,
man.
or last year.
He gets on stage by himself, and he's everything, and that's impressive in and of itself. But that allows you to also go back to the group and work easier as a participant of a.
That's a great point. Yeah, for me, that's an outlet that I choose to have because number one, sometimes I do want to make my own decisions, and I want to just like, have that. If it wasn't that, I'd probably be doing it somewhere. That's why I've had like art shows and stuff like that in the past too, because that's just me being an individual. But also, there are things that I feel like I could do with Fort Minor that I don't know if it would feel the same way either to myself or to people who see it or hear it if I did it with Linkin Park. So that song that I put out called Welcome, like if that had been a Linkin Park song, then you would have seen the band playing it. You would have seen the whole band there as when you see the song. And I just knew that felt different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask you? This is just for me. Can I get one quick question? From your art background, do you ever, at some point when you're constructing a song or mixing a song, do you ever? It doesn't apply directly, but do you ever think kind of metaphorically about applications of the rule of thirds or the golden rectangle with inside the mix? Don't be laughing at me.
No.
We'll go nerdy.
the art background stuff more so than
I'm just teasing, by the way, about the laughing. You can laugh. Everybody else does.
Okay. The specific. First of all, I'm impressed that you know like the rule of thirds and those things. Second, that stuff. I'd say the art background. One place it really came into play is in the democratic process in the band, because when I started art school, we would work 12 hours or even more. 50 hours on a painting and bring it in to a class of 20 people, and you put them on the wall, and basically everybody in the room got to tell everybody else in the room why their work was crap. And they'd sit there and have to take it. You'd have to listen to 20 people tell you, well, I don't like the colors you use. Your composition is weak. What is this even about? It reminds me of this artist, which they mean it looks like crap, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't get this or I don't like that. And you have to sit there and take it. And at its best, at a certain point, you have to go, okay, what can I get? What positive feedback can I actually get from this? Like, I'm going to take these things with a grain of salt. I'm going to take these things and I'm going to actually do something about it and make my work better. And sometimes you learn that the thing that bothers you the most is actually the thing that's accurate. That bothers you because they're right.
Wow.
That is a hard lesson to learn. And I spent years being subjected to this punishment in school. And I get with the band now, and it's like, when somebody says, like somebody's having an off day and they carelessly make a comment about a song that I spent weeks and weeks and weeks on, and then they come in and they treat it like, whatever.
Right.
I don't hear that as, I can separate the fact that they was careless from the fact that they might actually be saying something that's really would make the song better, which is what we all want.
Do you keep your hands involved? And by the way, guys, if you have questions, there's some handhelds on either side. So in a second after this question, we're going to go to you and see if you have any questions. Do you keep, Will Thompson back there taking pictures.
Will.
That's our social media guy and the producer of Pensado Papers back in the day. Just had 200 people teaching stuff about social media. Do you keep your hands in the illustrative process now? Do you stay artistic in that space?
I do in my personal time.
Okay.
Like if you follow me on Instagram, for example, I'm always like every once in a while I'm posting pictures of drawings and doodles and paintings and stuff. with the Linkin Park stuff, especially the album art, we usually, Joe and I met at art school. So both of us went to school at Art Center. And we generally don't make the art ourselves because I feel like I want to be great at making music. I can't devote 100% of my time to music and 100% of my time to art. So I want somebody who's 100% artist, visual artist, graphic designer, whatever. I want them to do the art because they're going to be better than I am.
And you know what? In our world, when it comes to that, and it sort of runs through my space, I want to be inspired by somebody else's ideas. And I'll see something and go, oh, wow. Like, you know, I can recognize it's a good idea. I might not have thought about it and then can interpret it back and forth. So I like the stimulation.
And sometimes it's nice to show, like, I know I can make stuff that I like looking at and some of the fans like looking at. Sometimes we use it because it's cool that it came from one of us.
Right.
But you know, if you think about it from album to album, it's usually nice to have like variety, like artwork that is the visual counterpart to the music. And sometimes I'm not the best one to, or Joe, we're not the best ones to get that across.
Sometimes you can be too close. You know, there's all kinds of things that
or you see something amazing out there on the internet or in person, you go, that's the thing that I want that guy to do it. You know?
Absolutely. Man, that's a hell of a camera rig. I hope that's Channel 9 or something.
I think it's going to fly away.
Even if it's not on, just turn some lights on. And
it might be a drone, actually.
I know, exactly. We actually have
a drone.
My DC partner has a drone. We just didn't want to put it in here and kill somebody, so we decided not to do it. Anybody got questions for Mike Shinoda? Can we get a handheld right here? Got it, Jeff.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
I'm a re-recording mixer, and one of the films I worked on a few years back was a film called The Raid Redemption.
Nice.
Yeah, I was quite surprised to see.
So by kind of with a little bit of space between, we basically worked with each other. I scored,
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, what challenges did you face scoring for a film? You know, from being a songwriter. And before you go ahead, one of the best scores that I've seen in that film was the tabletop fight sequence. It was, you know, just blew it out of the water.
Awesome.
So yeah, that was my question.
Appreciate that. I don't do a lot of scoring. I did that. That was my first feature length score. The guys from Sony, Kier over at Sony, called me. I'd never met him before, and he just liked specifically the Fort Minor stuff. And he offered me the movie. I had a nice break where I could take it. I knew that the approach from them and the director was that they were going to really give me creative space to do kind of whatever I wanted, which admittedly I was basically just like experimenting and like learning on their dime, which is the best way to do it.
Always.
Unless you really screwed up and let a bunch of people down, which I didn't intend to do. So, and I don't think is what happened. I think that they already had enough of a great movie with The Raid that I couldn't mess it up. So, so it was a really fun project, and I learned a lot. And one of the things that I did on that one that helped me both in the studio with our albums, but also when I've done a couple of little scoring things since, mostly themes. Like I've done a couple theme songs since. Is that I like to write with, if there's picture or even sometimes with a song, I like to write in something that I can easily adjust tempo and key, because I'll just sit there and just like tweak it. Like it's not like I go, oh, it should be this. Like I'll just sit there and twist the knob as the music's playing to get the right thing, or I'll sing over top of the track and I'll do it without, don't look at the number. Don't like focus on that. You know, you gotta like feel it and know that, okay, this is how it's supposed to feel. And it works really well for scoring. Like on that one, I was actually using the machine, or Maschine if you're German. That's what they call that sampler. I'd use it, and I would actually hand play all the sounds at first in some of the scenes. So I'd put like a long delay on them, put a few effects, and make them really have some like a more atmospheric quality. And maybe put it on pad mode so that I could play notes, and then I'd play in real time to the picture, and I track that off basically off the grid, and then so I've got that on one computer, and then I'd put my laptop up and I'd figure out that tempo thing on the other laptop while this one was kind of running picture. And so that felt more like it's the more of a jam-oriented way to like approach it. Found something I liked, saved it and exported it, brought it all into the main session and twisted the tempo to the right tempo and then started from there.
Oh, very cool. Anybody else got a question?
Keep them short. Keep 'em short.
In the back there. No, go, you with your hands up. There you go. Then we'll get to you in a second. You turn sideways and look like Sean Penn, but we'll get to that in a second. Good. Go ahead.
Have you ever made any beats or produced for another artist? And if so, how does that change in your approach? How does that change your approach?
Talk about the Lupe Fiasco. That's one of my favorites.
Okay. Lupe, yeah, I've done a few things for other artists. Lupe Fiasco was one of them. He's, he's a crazy talented guy, and although I haven't spoken to him lately, I love what he does, and I love his newest album is great. But yeah, I've gone through different phases. Like sometimes it's really nice to try and do something that you think they would sound good on. So basically, in that case, you're estimating their thing. And other times, you want to just bring in whatever you're feeling at the moment. Like my most, like in my opinion, my most successful stuff, the most stuff that I am proudest of and like the most, generally doesn't come from a situation where I'm trying to do something for someone else or I'm trying to do something that's supposed to sound like me. I'm just making what I want to make in the moment. If you just like put all the other BS aside and say like, this is what feels good right now, like to me, I've just personally had the best, that's where the best songs have come from for me. That's it.
Incredible. Right up here, Matt, if we could raise your hand so he knows where, there you go. Cool.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hey.
I was just curious to know, you just mentioned family and kids.
Yeah.
How do you find the balance between your work life and your family life when you're doing 10, 12 hours a day in the studio?
That's a hard one for most people. It's hard for us. At a certain point, I'm not like a good judge of what it's. I feel unqualified to give a lot of people any advice on that. First of all, because every family's different and your situation's different, but also because I'm in Linkin Park, and if we're on tour and we want to choose a hub city so that the kids can come out and stay in one place and we can hit some shows but not have to move them, and it's more convenient for them, like we have the means, right? So I can't tell my friend who's in a indie band on an indie label that's what he ought to do. It's like, well, I wish I could, Mike.
Yeah.
But for me, there was a moment like years ago where I said, okay, I got to like really draw firm lines because we were having, it'll always be the case. There will always be something else to do. There will always be a great interview you ought to do, like this one, that you ought to be coming down for, but it's like, there will always be something, Get an opportunity, a reason, even if it's like playing shows or whatever. And at certain points, you have to like kind of draw some boundaries and say, I'm just not going to do certain things because I'm prioritizing my kids, my wife, etc.
Mike, can I add an addendum to that real quick?
Sure.
Get a prenup and a great relationship with a divorce attorney. Our profession, which includes Mike's, is so difficult on relationships, and you have to make the time you spend with your family a big event. Don't listen to music. Just devote 100% to your family when you're with them, and understand that your work helps support them and give them a better life.
And there's an additional point to that, which is if you work out that relationship, your creativity will be better. You'll be in a happier place and a better place. And people we're getting ready to do a show on couples because the dynamics of how couples who manage things is the man, the audio person, is the woman, the audio person, who does what, who raises the children, how does the bread earning go, how does the time distribution go, what do you do about school, what do you do about travel? When all that's haywire, it's really hard to go mix stuff. You'll have a lot of angry shit based on pain, and sometimes that stuff can be great, but if you can make it creative, because I've seen it, I've managed a number of people who've gone through circumstances, I've gone through it, and to Mike's point, there's a point where you go, wait, I got to make this work the best I can inside of it. It's also respectful to your mate and to your loved one and to your children. And so it's corny stuff, but it's important stuff in your life.
But it's also, I mean, if you're a musician, like, if you're as obsessed with it as most of us are, like, it doesn't stop. Like, I can't
Ever.
make those ideas not happen in my head.
Ever.
I'll be having a conversation with somebody, and I will, at an appropriate moment, tell them, hang on 1 second, and I have to put an idea down on my phone or write it down or whatever, because they just comes to us. Like, you can't stop it. So you have to realize that there's, like, a point of that that's like, that's on me. Like, I'm the one who's got that thing that goes on, and it's an obsession, and it's great. But if I just let it go, wherever it wants to go, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to just wake up and do that all day, every day. I remember one time, too, after like an early record, when somebody said, oh, you know, the band's like, your first record was so angry. You guys are so successful now. You must not have anything to be angry about.
Oh, you got a lot more to be angry
Are you
about.
kidding me?
Exactly. It just got
It doesn't
worse.
matter where. I mean, I'm not a complainy kind of person in the first place, but no, it's all relative.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
No, in any situation that you're in, something is the worst thing and something is the best thing. And if you break those things down to the universal component, like, you could be talking about just about anything, and if you're saying it to somebody in a way that's compassionate and relatable, then they're going to go, oh, man, like, my situation's different, but me too.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a question. Could anybody use a Pro Tools 12 out there who doesn't have it? Because, Mike, you'll help us give some away. Chongor, why don't you come up so we get emails? So Avid has given me a special dispensation to give some away. So I think we should do sectors. We have this sector, this sector, and that sector. Is that fair? That's about as democratic as we can be.
Okay.
So let's go back sector there. Somebody do something outlandish so that one of these two guys can pick you. And men don't show you. Okay, kind of cheesy. Let's go more creative. Oh, we got a jumper. We got a jumper. We got a sort of a semi-rocker. Asian. That works. I don't know, Mike. You want to pick somebody from back there? Dave, you want to pick them? Who wants to pick?
I like the.
You're the winner. Come on up. All right, so get email and stuff.
Hold on, no. That was a metal. That was a metal symbol. Are they a new metal band or not?
Okay, they can't hear the answer. All right, so go to Chongor. He'll give you an email. Now let's go across to this sector right down here. Raise your hand. Do something like. Oh shit!
Damn.
I mean, he was expressive. Mike, you got to pick this one.
I was
gonna give it to him.
No, we'll give them emails and
that
stuff.
was amazing.
Is he the winner? Mike,
Sure.
All right, come on up.
Why not?
Now.
I like the fact that it's just based on like who gets your attention. What's up, buddy?
So Chongor will give you emails. The other thing we have, I don't know if you do we have. This may be a stupid question. Do we have people that watch the show? I hope so. Okay, so if you've seen Mix Magazine, do we have the Mix Magazines here? No. Okay. So we were blessed enough to just open up our own media center. We have our own television studio, an internet radio station, and audio art gallery, and library, and hangout spot, and it's very cool. So we have a lot of people who like to come and watch the show now, even though we haven't announced it.
I do.
So Dave comes every week.
You're giving away 2 more?
We're giving away 2 more, and we're giving away a bunch of invitations to come see the show. Would anybody be interested in coming to see the show? Oh, that got more than. Well, I don't want to say it got more than Pro Tools because I'm at the Avid booth. But so let's do both at the same time. Mike will give out some of these, so somebody has something to.
Can I do something? I had an idea.
Do whatever you want.
I had an idea. These are all invitations. Cool.
So we
I have
got
2
more
questions
sectors of
for 2 different, maybe a few different winners. Who thinks they're the biggest Linkin Park fan here? Okay, he raised his hand first. What was the band's name before Linkin Park? What was the band? Correct, Hybrid Theory. What was the band's name before Hybrid Theory? This is a bonus question. You already won. You were asleep that day. Anybody know the band's name before Hybrid Theory? Okay, you got it.
Good job, man. Good job.
Who's definitely not a Linkin Park fan? Who hates Linkin Park? Nice. What's your name? I said hates though.
Just go.
Is it hates or just doesn't know the band? Okay. You're just gonna get one because
Just because.
you deserve because you're bold enough to say that. Absolutely.
I love that.
I never. I'm almost gonna take that away because you said something nice.
All right, we
I
still got
wanted
this
you to
sector
just be
over
like,
here.
no, I actually just really don't like you. I can't stand you.
All right, so let's get
Okay.
this sector over here. Congratulations. Ask them one of your Mike Shinoda questions.
Oh, you get one question. Name the first 4 songs on Hybrid Theory. In order.
Ooh, in order, too. Nice.
Wow.
What's the first song? Let's just start with
PJ,
that.
man.
Don't help him. Somebody just try to help him. That's messed up.
First song.
First song. One song.
Uh-oh, you guys collapsing?
Yeah, he said it. I think he said it. Did he say it?
Oh, you did
Paper
say
cut.
it. What do you want,
Okay.
Pro Tools or Invitation or both? Come on.
Hey.
Chongor get his email.
I
Good job.
I wanted to be quiet because this man drove me for a week free back and forth to
What's
the
up, buddy?
studio in Nashville,
Oh.
Blackbird.
Oh, you went illegal.
Wouldn't take
he
money.
went insider.
Wouldn't take money. He was
All right,
part of
we'd
it.
like to see some of you guys at the show. Can anybody like an invitation to the Pensado Media Center? Dave, you want to pick a couple? Pick 3 people. On that side, you pick 3.
lot
Don't
of
hesitate,
pressure.
we're out of time. Mike, you can pick 2 or 3 on this
Anthony
side.
I'm just going to go hand them
Anthony
out.
Gordon, let's give him
You
one.
hand these out?
Yeah,
Who had
absolutely.
their hand
That's
up?
too much pressure.
You did?
Let Mike do it.
What's up, buddy?
Oh, well, there you go. Get him from
Give me
Mike
one.
Shinoda.
Yeah,
Sign
he's
him.
got
Have
it
him
up.
sign
Go
it. That
ahead.
might be worth some shit on eBay or something.
Okay, thank you.
Got them all out? Good deal.
Yeah.
I think we have a few more. Anybody else? All right, somebody come up here. Take those back there, man. Somebody come up and get one. Don't kill yourself. Oh, you're a big winner all day. Here, you do me a favor. Hey, man, because you picked Hybrid Theory, you hand out 2 to folks back there. You're now the prize distributor. You're the star. Do your thing.
I feel like we got to I'll put this on Snapchat.
Yeah, we got to. So while Mike gets ready to Snapchat you, and we're going to see that stuff everywhere. Hey, very good. Snapchatting. Put your shit up. How about you do me a favor and give a big round of applause for the one, the only Mike Shinoda.
Thank you, guys.
An absolute example of how art is art and respect the process. Somebody that's contributed much stuff to us.
Yeah.
We thank you so much for
Thank
finding
you, man.
time, man.
Appreciate it.
Come by the art gallery. We'll figure that out afterwards.
Mike, I hadn't had that much fun since the pigs ate my little brother.
Yeah, hey, how do I close on that? So tomorrow we've got DJ Ali and from Kendrick Lamar and Mike Dean from Kanye West. Saturday, Mike Elizondo, who is a beast and a bass player.
Make sure you ask Mike Elizondo. I was saying this earlier. Mike Elizondo, at one point for a very short time, was the bass player of Linkin Park.
Oh, we'll get him on that.
Ask him about that story. I remember sitting.
Before or after Buddha hat?
Phoenix left us for a short time, and Elizondo during that time was our top candidate for
Wow.
bass player. We asked him to be on it, and some of you guys aren't going to see the things. I'll tell you what happened. I told him we were doing it, and he said at a certain point he's like, "Man, I don't know what to do." Because on one hand, I really want to be like, you guys are doing so well, and I love the music. On the other hand, Dre is like, really wants me to work on this new album with him, and he's like, he's offering me points on the new record. I said, "Oh, who is it?" He's like, "It's this white kid from Detroit." I was like, "It's Eminem." He's like, "Yeah, how have you heard about this guy?" I was like,
Whoa.
"Dude, you better go work on that Eminem record."
Wow.
And that's where he went.
I'll be damned. What a great
Wow.
story.
What
on
a great,
Saturday.
what a great choice. Like he had
Unbelievable.
awesome options in front of him, right?
Mike's one of my
You want to
best
come see
friends.
him on Saturday. One more time, Mike Shinoda and Avid.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks again.
All right.